All right, now, okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if we could have the approval of the minutes of January 5th, 2017. Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? One abstention from Mr. Richardson. Okay, would you read the next item, please?
Chair Seves and members of the commission, our next item on the agenda is the administer of the oath of office of newly appointed alternate county member Joan Hartman, term ending March 1st, 2018, and newly appointed alternate city member Etta Waterfield, term ending March 1st, 2020.
If you come up to the podium, please, and take the oath.
Hi. I'll be administering the oath this morning to Councilperson Waterfield and Supervisor Hartman. And if you please both raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Etta Waterfield,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and that I take this obligation freely
and that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter. So help me
Congratulations.
God.
Congratulations. Yes, Mr. Richardson.
I want to welcome the San Ynez Valley to the meeting today. We're proud to see you, and we're proud to have you here. Thanks for showing here.
Okay, well, now we need to go to
Chair Seves and members of the commission, the next item on our agenda is to the appointment of regular and alternate public members.
Mr. Hood.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Hood, LAFCO Executive Officer. We have a couple of expired terms in March of 2017, and there are two members of the commission, the regular public member and the alternate public member, whose terms will expire at that time. They are both completing unexpired terms for commissioners that have left LAFCO, and so the recommendation is to reappoint Commissioner Public Member Roger Welt as the regular public member and alternate Public Commissioner Shane Stark as the alternate, again, for terms to expire in 2021, 4 years from now. That concludes my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Back to the commission. Mr. Guyer.
Do we have to advertise those as vacant when they expire or not?
We did look into that, Mr. Geyer, because it's come up in the past. And the key term in the statute is whether the position is vacant.
Okay.
And so I know it gets a little more complicated when we get around to the Special District Selection Committee, but in this case, the position is not vacant. There is so it didn't trigger the formal notice requirements of the statute.
So if we appoint prior to the vacancy time, or to the expiration?
If you let it become vacant, that'd be a little more complicated, but they tend to hold over pursuant to the statute. There's a holdover provision until they're reappointed or a successor is appointed. Usually a vacancy is going to occur when somebody just flat out, their term expires and they leave office. So it's or resign. That's happened in one case for the public member.
Okay.
So there's that. Thank you.
Mr. Stark.
I have an existential question. I hesitate to ask an existential question. Is it necessary for the appointment to include a member of each category of membership? And if so, can I vote for myself?
Well, this is...
Ordinarily, I'd be inclined to abstain unless
These are two public members.
There is a voting requirement that requires, I think, support from the counties, a county rep, a city rep, and a special district rep. I don't think it does not apply to the public member. I think that's how it's written.
Yeah, it is. You can't vote for
So it does
yourself.
not. You can vote, is what I'm saying.
I could vote or I could abstain without
Yes,
voting the
that's right.
appointment.
Yes.
Thanks.
Ms. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move recommendation from staff that we appoint Roger Welt as a public member and Shane Stark as the alternate public member.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Mr. Stark, I'm assuming you're going to stay.
Yes, as long as I'm able to.
Okay.
I'll
I
be
just didn't
happy
want you
to
to say
stay.
no after we said yes. Okay, no further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The item passes. Do we have any members of the public that wish to address this commission on items not on today's agenda?
Chair Seves and members of the commission, we have no request to speak on general public comment.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to the consent calendar. Does any commissioner wish to pull any item from the consent calendar?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
pull item 3,
Item number 3.
just the schedule. I think they need to change this.
Chair Seves and members of the commission, consent calendar item number 3 is to approve a revised meeting calendar for 2017.
Mr.
Yeah.
Levanino.
I think we just have a, so that's a new meeting, April 13th, but it just shows that the meeting location's in Santa Maria and the remote testimony is in Santa Maria on the official sheet, so we should probably just change that to Santa Barbara.
That would have been an interesting trick. Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar with item number 3 as amended?
I have a question on one of the items.
On which one?
The expenditures, is that part of our consent here? Correct?
You have the disbursements, and then you have the second quarter report.
Yeah.
So you want to pull which one or two?
Well, I have a question about one. I don't know if we have to pull it or not.
On one?
On the disbursements for December 2016
Okay.
and January 27.
Read the item number one.
Chair Seves and members of the commission, consent calendar item number 1 is to receive and file a report on disbursements for December 2016 and January 2017.
Mr. Morehouse.
So a question on the expenditure transactions, we have claim 0414523, and we also have claim 0418271 with different post dates, but they both say December 2016 executive officer stipend. I'm assuming that's a mistake? One of them should be January?
We're trying to find where you are.
Very top of page 1 of 2, very top, the December 2016 executive officer stipend, and then the very top of page 2 of 2. They both say the same month. Did we pay you twice that month?
No, I don't get paid twice.
I don't think so.
This was directly taken from the auditor's expenditure transactions, so I'm not sure why it says that. I will go back and check. It looks like it should be January. It was usually I file my claim on the first of the month, so it should be January. We'll go back and check that.
January and December?
December in the first one, dated 12/2/16, and January on the second one, dated 1/1/17. It should be January.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'll check it.
Mr. Morehouse, anything else? Okay, so may I have a motion to approve the consent item with the two amendments?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, move on to business item number 1, please.
Chair Seves and members of the commission, business item number 1 is to appoint 3 LAFCO commissioners to the 2017 SB LAFCO Legislative Committee.
Mr. Hood.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The commission established a Santa Barbara LAFCO Legislative Committee back in July of 15, and the resolution that's attached is creating that Legislative Committee 15-4 of the LAFCO resolution. So we appoint, the commission appoints members to the Legislative Committee annually. We waited until February because there was some changing of membership on the commission that took place in January. So there is a notation in the minutes that the membership should rotate. Since we only can have 3 members on the Legislative Committee without having a quorum, the minutes of the September 10th meeting indicate that it should be city, county, special district, and public member. Although when legal counsel and myself looked at the resolution, it doesn't say anything about that rotation, but it's indicated in the minutes. So currently, it's city, county, and special district. Doreen Farr is no longer on the commission, but Commissioner Seves, county member, and Morehouse are on this 2016 Legislative Committee. And so using that rotation, the public member would step up, and the city member and a county member and the special district would drop off. But it certainly is up to your commission how you want to handle that. And some of it depends on interest and time of availability.
Chair Seves?
Yes, Mr. Guyer.
I would suggest that we come back with a new resolution to correct that, because in the future, people are going to look at it, and, I mean, just a general housekeeping thing.
Mr. Chair, just to comment on the resolution, I believe when we adopted the resolution, you debated having rotation and you didn't go there. And then when the minutes were approved, it actually stated an intent to rotate the appointments. And intent is not the same as a binding requirement in a resolution to do that. So I think it's an intent to rotate, but it gives you the discretion in any particular circumstance to depart from that intent.
Right, but in the hierarchy of a resolution trumps a
absolutely.
motion. So,
but if the resolution does not require rotation, so
right. So, really, that's what we should be going by.
I agree, and I would note it, and Mr. Hood and I discussed this, that a statement of intent in the minutes at a subsequent meeting didn't really change the resolution at all. So
the resolution stands.
It does. That's right.
But Mr. Dillon, the bottom line is this commission can choose to do what they want today. And the important thing is to get a committee going forward to help Mr. Hood with the legislative issues. The irony is I don't think we met once last year. So hopefully this committee will be truly engaged this year. So understanding, Mr. Hood, your recommendation, I would step off as a city member. County would move up. Special districts would move up. And then we need somebody as a public member. Is that correct? That's what I mean. Would I step off?
So special districts in the rotation would be. Sorry, the special districts would step off according to the minutes.
The special district?
Yeah, and
Okay,
the public
so-
member would become a legislative committee member.
So I could stay.
Or they could be
as-
alternates too,
Okay, so a city member could stay, a county member could stay. We need a public member.
right?
Okay. Back to the commission.
Yeah, we did discuss briefly about the rotation issue, and I don't believe that we really went in depth about it and gave it much thought, or as much thought as we should have. My feeling is it's important that we have a special district representative, a city representative, and a county representative serving on the legislative committee. All three of those entities that serve as commissioners on this board are engaged with our state legislature throughout the year. And so to take one entity off the state legislative committee that may have significant participation in the state legislative process, I don't think is doing our commission well. And in particular, when it comes to the special districts, the LAFCO engages many times throughout the year with CSDA and with the legal analysts and the lobbyists with CSDA. So, special districts tend to be more engaged in the process than others when it comes to formation issues, dealing with special districts and the legislative process. So, I know we left that rotation thing in limbo, and I'd prefer that we continue with having a county, city, and a special district representative on the legislative committee.
Chair Seves?
Yes.
I don't see any problem with appointing 4 people to the committee because it's a standing committee that's going to be noticed anyway. So as long as it's noticed, you can have 4 people on it. And I think it would give a broader representation.
But I thought this was not a standing committee.
No, it's in the resolution. It's a standing committee.
Okay.
And so
Well, the resolution also calls for 3 members, doesn't call for 4.
I'm sorry, I didn't
The
hear.
resolution calls for 3 members, not 4.
Okay, well, then in that case, I would stand by no rotation of it. I'd stand by what the resolution says.
Mr. Chair, may I make a
Stark.
suggestion? I think
Please.
so we'll move it on. If I could suggest, why don't I suggest that you designate a public member as an alternate to the committee, so you could do one of 2 things. Either the public member could serve in the absence of one of the other 3 classifications of members, or if I remember my Brown Act correctly, I try to forget something every day, but I don't think I've forgotten this part. It's not a violation of the Brown Act for another member of the body to sit as an observer and to ask questions, so they won't, without any fear of Brown Act violation. So that would be okay. So I think that might fix it.
Mr. Dillon.
Well, the key point I think made in that discussion was Mr. Geyer noting it's a noticed Brown Act meeting anyway, so it's open to the public. And so having an observer there, I think that's also fine and consistent with the Brown Act. If it was not a noticed public meeting, I'd be a little bit more concerned about it. But
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure about the alternate status, though, because there's nothing in the resolution about alternates.
Okay, so, you want to speak?
Yeah, I thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think to move this along, I think we should, I agree we should stick with the intent of the resolution. And Mr. Savis, are you willing to remain on this committee?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Morehouse? Yes. Okay. And Mr. Lavagnino, would you serve as a board representative? Okay, so I'll make a motion that we appoint Mr. Morehouse, Mr. Lavagnino, Mr. Savis to this committee.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion. No discussion?
Yeah, just one. Yeah, I'm in favor of the motion, but I would like to see some come back later where we can put the public member on as the alternate. I think that's a good idea.
So as part of my motion, I'll add that staff return to the board with a revised resolution to indicate the alternate member would be a public member.
Does the second agree? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for moving that forward. Next item, please.
Chair Seves and members of the commission, our next item on the agenda is business item number 2, which is to receive and file the 2015-2016 audit report by Bartlett, Pringle, and Wolf.
Mr. Hood.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Hood, LAFCO Executive Officer. We went through the annual process with the audit firm of Bartlett, Pringle, and Wolf to review our financial statements and provide a report based on its independent analysis and observations of our financial dealings throughout the year. We've attached a draft report, and John Britton from the firm is in the Santa Barbara office, board chambers, and ready to make any comments if you have questions about the way that this was conducted. But again, I'm pleased to report that they did not identify any significant or unusual transactions or significant accounting policies that lack the authority of guidance or consent. And that's the auditor's words. I don't usually write things like that. They did not discuss with management any alternative treatments in generally accepted accounting principles relating to the audit, and that they noted no significant accounting estimates reflected in the financial statements that were contrary to the budget. So they performed their audit, and they did go into a great deal of depth, and Jacqueline and myself can attest to that. We provided much information to them. They had a supervising auditor that was performing the audit this year, and she was very in-depth and asked a lot of good questions. And we did have a little bit of an unusual budget last year, but they did not find any irregularities or anything that was of any concern whatsoever in the financial statements. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And John Britton, I think, is in the room. Don't see him, but he is, I think, somewhere.
Mr. Britton, are
Santa
you in
Barbara.
Santa Barbara? Come up to the podium. Okay, there he is. Thank you. Good to see you. Okay, any questions of Mr. Hood or Mr. Britton? Mr. Guyer.
Paul, once this is approved, it'll go on the website?
It will go on the website. There'll be a printed version. This is the draft, so the final version will go on the website. And you will all get copies of the printed version that we'll send out to you following today's deliberations. So we'll post it on the website as well.
Thank you. Any other questions?
The draft is already on the website, by the way.
Mr. Britton, any comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, we will receive and file. Thank you, Mr. Britton, for showing up for our meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay, information item number 1.
Chair Seves and members of the commission, informational item number 1 is to receive and file status report on a request by the San Ynez Community Services District to include Los Olivos in the district's sphere of influence, as well as a status report on a pending proposal to form a Los Olivos Community Services District.
Mr. Hood.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item has been around for several months. We have 2 requests. One is from the San Ynez Community Services District to revise the sphere of influence for that district to include the community of Los Olivos. And we have a pending proposal to form a Los Olivos Community Services District. This was, I guess, the item was talked about in great depth back in June of 2016, and staff was directed to return to the commission within 6 months for additional action or direction as appropriate. So I came back in September, or in December 8th, and the commission again received and filed my report, but there have been some developments since then. We have consulted with the representatives of the Santa Ynez CSD as well as the proponents of the Los Olivos Community Services District over the course of the past couple of months, and had some very good discussions with both parties. The MSR SOI for the Santa Ynez Community Services District was approved in 2012 and reaffirmed the boundaries of the district at that time. The request that was initiated by resolution of the Board of Directors did not contain, because I had not completed it, the updated sphere of influence. So I sent out a questionnaire to the district. They responded to all of my requests for information. And so there is no incompleteness determination on the part of the district. It's that I have not completed the MSR and brought the sphere of influence back to the commission. And as I note in my staff report, these are not competing proposals because a sphere of influence is not defined as a proposal, whereas a formation of a district is. So there's some timing issues involved. But as in January, we did receive validation of the signatures on the petition from the Los Olivos CSD proponents that they had in excess of 25% of the registered voters living within the boundaries of the proposed district. In fact, there were 551 registered voters, and they had signatures of 234 registered voters, which is 42.47%. So we are ready to move ahead with that. The first step in that process is the petition of application, which has been validated and submitted by the county elections. Then a LAFCO hearing would take place within the next couple of months on that, most probably in April. And the commission at that point could approve, deny, or revise the proposal to change the boundaries or do anything else that you deem necessary. If there's ag land included, that could be left out of the map of the boundaries. Protest hearing would then be held on this proposal, and in the absence of majority protest, it would be set for an election. So this could be, would be a mail ballot election and could take place within the next few months, within 6 months, no doubt. In the meantime, the sphere of influence request for the Santa Ynez CSD, we received a letter from Jeff Hodge, who's in the audience, the general manager, indicating that they would be taking back this matter to their board of directors on the 15th of February. And the letter outlines several options that they would present to the district board at that time. One is to hold back on the application for the sphere of influence change pending the outcome of the formation. And so if they decide to do that, that would be fine. But they could also request that we proceed with both items and look at them most probably at the same meeting. It would require me to complete the MSR as well as the analysis of the proposal to form a new district. So I think that pretty much concludes what I'm saying. Both are ready to proceed, but it seems that the formation of the district is ready to move ahead. And there is also a last-minute letter that we received from ID1, Santa Ynez Water Conservation District, that says that they're also interested in being part of this discussion. And originally, they sent the letter in April, but we haven't really heard much from them since then until the past week or few days. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. We are doing a significant amount of work on this, and we are providing some information to an attorney for the Healy Ocean Group at this point. So we are doing a lot of work on it. And be happy to answer any questions you might have. I know legal counsel is also pretty involved in this discussion.
Okay, we'll go to Mr. Guyer, then Ms. Wolf.
Is San Ynez Community Service District's SOI application complete?
It is complete as far as the information I have requested from them. And I received an email from Rick Battles, the legal counsel for the San Ynez CSD, and we had a discussion, and in my staff report, I said it was incomplete. But what I meant to say was it was incomplete because I had not completed the municipal service review. The district has completed its requirements, submitted everything that I requested. So I need to finish that MSR if we're to move ahead with the request to amend the sphere of influence.
Thank you.
Mrs. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Hood, as you know, I exchanged emails with you, and you clarified that issue of complete versus incomplete. But what I'm not clear on is you had all the information to make the application complete November 18th. So how long does it take to review the application for you to make a determination? And have you been working on it?
I have been working on the municipal service review, and we had a discussion about the timeline on that. And Bill, do you want to say anything about, the November 18th? It was a little bit of a delay because we received some additional information the following week, approximately the 25th of November. And we need time to review everything and develop the municipal service review, which I'm ready to complete, and set this for a hearing. If you want to go ahead and look at the sphere of influence request and make a determination on that. Looks like it would probably, if you direct me to do both, they would probably be back at the same hearing, which would be in April. And unless something unforeseen happens, that there would be a determination made, if you wish, on the sphere of influence request and the formation of the district. So
Okay,
we're within
well-
our legal timeframes as far as noticing and so on and so forth.
Now the issue is, I don't want to say complicated, but it's changed a little bit because San Ynez CSD is going to have a meeting and they may withdraw. But I'm still not clear how long will it take for you to do a general MSR? And why isn't it, have you been holding back because of all these other issues?
Well, there are a couple of issues. One is back in June of 2016, the commission directed me to work with both parties to determine which one of these proposals would be complete. Looks like they're both pretty much complete, especially the CSD formation. And I think at the time, and I'm not going to speak for the San Ynez CSD, but talking with their staff, at the time they initiated this SOI, and give them credit, they stepped up and decided that they could, if nothing was going to happen in Los Olivos as far as a separate entity, that they would take the ball and run with it and file a sphere of influence request. It's a non-contiguous area, it's some miles from the district, so they could not connect to their sewer collection system. So the issues are the same regardless of who provides service. Is it the San Ynez CSD as a non-contiguous CSD that's already in place and established, or a new agency that would do the same thing? They would build a wastewater collection and treatment system within Los Olivos. In either option, it would be paid for by the residents and landowners within Los Olivos. So, time-wise, because it's only a sphere of influence request, an annexation would need to follow if the commission approves the SOI. And there are significant issues. There needs to be a protest hearing. If the there's 25 to 50% protest, it needs to go to an election, which is almost the same timeline as forming a new district. You know, it needs to be a protest hearing.
I just wanted
and
to know how
formation.
long it takes you to complete your MSR.
We could be done by April,
By April?
yeah.
Okay. Then there is the issue of ID1, where they talk about latent powers, that they have that power, I suspect, to provide sewer service. Can you comment on that? And I think they were writing in response to San Ynez that there would be a conflict because they have ID1 has Los Olivos in their sphere. So if you can explain
Right.
their comment about latent powers.
It's a little difficult to explain because it's not in the sphere. It's Los Olivos is within their boundaries, the boundaries of the district. Sphere of influence, I think, is the same as the boundaries. So they're within the district, and they provide water service to Los Olivos. In terms of latent powers, I've looked at the water code and discussed this with legal counsel, and I pointed out to their attorney that, and it was also pointed out in the feasibility study that was done by Burks and Associates, that they do not have latent power that includes wastewater collection and treatment. And I looked at this. These statutes are old. They go back to the 30s. There's about 10 water conservation districts in the state, none of which provide wastewater. And I just questioned the ability of that district to, especially at this late date, to step into the discussion and exercise a latent power that doesn't appear that is related to wastewater treatment. It appears it's related to water treatment. And if you define wastewater and water as the same thing, you know, drinking water and wastewater are not the same thing. And I would question the ability of that district to provide that service.
Okay, that's all the questions I have for now.
Mr. Chair, can I follow up on Mr. Hood's comments to Commissioner Wolf? The district does feel like they have the authority to provide sewer services, and I met with their attorney and went over the law that they cite in favor of that position. And it's in the Water Code, Section 74593B. They have the authority, among other things, to treat, purify, and recycle wastewater for beneficial use. So that's a little bit different than just treating wastewater and disposing of it. It looks like for a water conservation district, they have some authority to do such service where it's for a beneficial use. Beneficial use of water in California law is a very broad term. You know, a lot of things can be for beneficial use. Recharging the water basin, replenishing the flow of the stream. I think they sell a lot of their wastewater to the farmers for farming. So Mr. Hood, though, kind of points out, and we've discussed this statute a little bit, that it's in the context of another provision that allows them to contract for services to buy water from such districts. So I can't say unequivocally they don't have this authority. They may well have it. There's only 10 water districts in the state of conservation districts in the state of California, according to their attorney. This provision's never been relied on to provide such services. They're proposing to potentially exercise a latent power, which they've never exercised before, and that would have to come through LAFCO as well. So I suspect what Mr. Hood would end up doing is doing some analysis in his staff report about this issue, just to flush it out. No pun intended. But he, you know, Mr. Hood is noting that, I was just rereading that letter from last April. They don't clearly state they're coming forward with a proposal to provide the services. So now to get a statement that they really want to be more a part of the game, I mean, certainly they can come forward and state that, but we've sort of been building to an end hearing or a climax on the two proposals, the sphere of influence and the creation of the CSD. And I'm advising Mr. Hood to at least discuss the other option in case it intrigues you, but that's the latest.
If I could just follow up. The other thing that they bring up is that they have that since they have the sphere, that it would be impossible for another agency to also have that sphere. So
I think that would be a fair question if someone else was providing water, potable water services, which is what ID1 provides. Rather, ID1 right now does not provide any sewer service of any type.
okay,
So
I
the
just wanted
yeah,
to clear that up.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Commissioner Wolf, I think there's many overlapping special districts. Goleta has several, and area, water, sanitary, and so on.
Mr. Guyer?
Carpinteria, exactly.
Well, it seemed like a proper answer to ID1 would be if they have an idea that they want to provide this, to put in an application, because it is subject to LAFCO approval.
Okay. Mr. Stark?
I just have two quick questions, and both of them are relatively procedural. Am I correct in assuming that we don't have to entail our legal counsel in a whole lot of work on figuring out what ID1 status is at this time? I mean, it seems to me that would be premature. We don't want to. And if I am, that's good. Then the second question has to do with what action, if any, we are noticed to take today. I'd like that clear. My understanding is basically receive the report, that we're not really noticed to take any affirmative action.
Yeah, today's information only, and we will receive it and file the report at the end.
And we could give direction to staff, but that's about it.
You can give direction. Mr. Hood, right now, I think intends to come back in April. I don't think he wants that hard-wired direction yet, but I think that's the intent. And if the CSD does not somehow suspend their SOI application, then that would be included in the April hearing. If they want a hearing on that application, then Mr. Hood will give them one in front of this commission.
Okay, I'm going to go to the members of the public. We have 31 speaker slips, and normally we give you 3 minutes. That would be an hour and a half. So what I'd like to do is offer those that will take up to a minute and just come up and present for or against, and don't need the full 3 minutes. First opportunity to come up and be heard. Anybody want it? I'm sorry. Okay. All right, before we go to the public, Tom Farron in Santa Barbara, do you want to speak?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of LAFCO. My name is Tom Fayram, and I am a resident of Los Olivos. Many of you know me as I am also a county employee in the Public Works Department. However, I'm on approved leave and taking vacation, so therefore speaking as a resident of Los Olivos only. I just wanted to offer my support for the formation of a Los Olivos Community Services District and for LAFCO to allow that process to follow through. A local CSD would provide the most flexibility for the town of Los Olivos moving forward, as it could contract with the San Ynez CSD, even ID1, any other agency, but its elected members would represent the town and be accountable for the costs and the solutions for this potential problem. So I just offer my support for a Los Olivos CSD as a private resident of Los Olivos. Thank you very much.
Okay. Since I had no takers on the one, what I'm going to do, since we have 31 speakers, I'm going to limit the speakers to 2 minutes, and so we get them all in a reasonable amount of time. So let's go. I'm sorry. You want it in 1 minute? Oh, wonderful. We're down to 30 speakers. Oh.
Hi, my name's Keith Sarlos. I live, work, and I'm on the school board in Los Olivos. I am a proponent of Los Olivos creating its own CSD and starting this process of taking care of its own. If we're just enveloped, all of a sudden we won't have a seat at the board, or we'll have a seat at the board, but we'll be outvoted every chance we get. I think this is a really important point for us to kind of come together as a community and become something a little bit bigger than we are now, and looking forward to the future of providing other things that are possible. So I am 100% for the CSD in Los Olivos, and I hope you let us continue down this path of democracy. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else for 1 minute? Please come forward and give your name to the clerk. Anybody else for 1 minute after her? Come on up. Come on up. Or you want 1 minute?
Well, Happy New Year, by the way.
Your name, please, for the record.
Doug Berthel, the president of Preservation of Los Olivos, and you know, it's a great feeling to know that we're that popular, where we have all these agencies fighting over us. But in fact, it's the local citizens that are really going to be impacted and really want to have the best system in the world and work with the county. But I've never met Mr. Fayram, but what he said, I'm saying. So I think it was excellent, his description, and I just got to commend the group of citizens, professionalism and science and expertise in trying to bring this thing back so that the people of Los Olivos have the say-so. Otherwise, there's no telling what will happen, and I think it behooves us all to pay attention to the people of Los Olivos.
Thank you. Anybody else for a minute? If anybody wants to come up for a minute, come like the center here and line up, and we'll just take you right in line. Right there down the center row. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kelly Gray, and I'm a resident of Los Olivos and have been since 1996. I strongly support expanding the St. Inez Community Service District's sphere of influence so that it includes my home for now, both sewage and water. I do not support a CSD being built. Created. I don't see a need for it. I do not wish to have an extra layer of government involved in my life, in my home, in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tom Nelson, and I'm a resident of Los Olivos, and I'm strongly in favor of annexing or joining the sphere of influence of the San Ynez CSD. I don't see a reason to reinvent the wheel. There's already a CSD there. They can do the same job. They can work with us. There's a lot of fear that's been expressed that they won't have a seat at the table. They can have as many seats as they can get elected. They can run a campaign. There are 5 seats. They can get as many seats as they can get people elected to that because they're going to be part of it. They're not divided off. One of the things that really bothers me is in their announcement of this meeting, they don't understand why there are still out-of-town folks. Out-of-town folks. San Ynez Valley residents, they're neighbors. They're not out-of-town folks. They're your neighbors. And there are more neighbors involved, too, that aren't even at this table yet, and that's Ballard. Everybody's ignoring them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Corby Fleming, and I've lived in Los Olivos for almost 30 years, taught at the local schools. And I wanted to honor Mr. Sarlus's mention of democracy, because I think this is what this is all about, and a lot of different people having different opinions, and it boils down to the citizens being equal in their potential information and vote for their, it doesn't matter who we are or where we come from, but we're equal in the eyes of the law. And I totally support the sphere of influence to annexation, for annexation. And thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gloria Van Hertem, also a resident of Los Olivos. The majority of Los Olivos residents are not involved in the Los Olivos CSD process. We feel the preferential treatment LAFCO is giving this group instead of us has been unfair and one-sided. We just tired of being held up, and I would like to support the SYCSD expanded sphere of influence. Please, let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brad Peterson. I'm a resident of Los Olivos, and I support Santa Ynez extending their sphere of influence to include Los Olivos. If there's a pre-existing system that we can tap into, it just makes infinite sense to take advantage of that than rebuild something ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
This will be the shortest of all. I also support the SY.
Your name, please?
Oh, sorry. Laverne Sepulveda, and I'm a resident, and I've been a resident for almost 40 years, and I live in the special district of Los Olivos, and I also support the sphere of influence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kelly Pappas. I'm also a Los Olivos resident, and I support Los Olivos being included in the Santa Ynez CSD's sphere of influence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Feinberg. I live in Los Olivos. Everybody before me spoke very eloquently, so I'm going to give my time to them. Sphere of influence, Santa Ynez. I support the SOI.
Thank you.
I'm Jack Sepulveda, Los Olivos residents for 38 years. I'd like to go with the Santa Ynez Service District for our service in order to get this thing moving along, get it done in a good time, and perhaps save us some money while we're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lyda Grant, and I'm a resident of Los Olivos. I've been there for about 30 years, and I support the CSD sphere of influence, mostly due to the cost of other options. It does seem like, looking at both sides, going with something that is already in place will save us, the residents, quite a bit of money over the long term, and we like that idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Winston Craven. I'm a resident of Los Olivos. I want to say that I really object to Santa Ynez's application for sphere of influence being pushed aside. It's been a year since it was filed, and I don't understand how a steering committee of a very few people can overcome a petition of 120 individuals that went to Santa Ynez. The people that signed that Santa Ynez sphere of influence petition have been disenfranchised. You need to consider those people. At this point, they're almost ready to sign anything just to get this thing going. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sam Armstein. I live in Los Olivos, and I have the Los Olivos Wine Merchant Cafe. And I feel that I would like sewers in Los Olivos as soon as possible. If my leach field fails, my business is out of business, and I feel that the fastest way to actually get sewers in Los Olivos is to go with the sphere of influence with Santa Ynez CSD, and it'd probably be the least expensive way to go as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for a minute? Okay, we'll now go to 2 minutes, and please call the speakers.
Chair Seves and members of the commission, our first request to speak is going to be Jeff Hodge, to be followed by Harlan Bachardi.
Hold on a minute, Mr. Hodge. How many speaker slips do we have left? All right, we'll go to 3 minutes, but if you don't need all three, give it to the next person. Go ahead and call the next person that's come up after him.
Jeff Hodge is our first speaker, to be followed by Harlan Bachardi.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Jeff Hodge, General Manager for the Santa Ynez Community Service District. Been before you many times before, and hence some of the procedural issues that I had for this. You know, speaking of the timeline with this. That information's been presented to you in the past. In sake of time, I won't rehash that. It is the timeline with this that concerns me as we've moved through and reporting back to my board and not having things to report back to the way things have fallen on the agenda, and knowing a lot of times just to be here because it wasn't always agendized and we'd get in these discussions. There's just that whole aspect. And with that, I appreciate the update from Executive Director Hood this afternoon in regards to some of the conversations between his legal counsel and my legal counsel in the letter before you. I was greatly concerned about the deeming it incomplete, had sent multiple emails in the past and other requests that what is it that you need from us, so that once again back to the people that came forth initially that started this at our board level to bring it here to be on the record that they want something done with that, back to being a republic that we live in and representing those that can't always be here because they're at work or not financially able or whatever to travel here. The other one, though, is it's good to see ID1 here. Enjoy them as a neighbor and working with them on others. That was one of the concerns that I had today with the staff report, and I do have a letter that we sent in response to that some time ago. It appears that was fairly well covered today, but I will leave this again as part of the record. It seems that was attached, but I just want to make sure that gets in there, that our lawyer, just as yours has, had some comments on that. And as always, available for additional questions as you have from my board's original action back in 2 years ago or so, a year and a half ago. So thank you.
Our next speaker is Harlan McCarty, to be followed by Mark Herthel.
I'm Harlan McCarty. I lived in Los Olivos since about 1960, but that doesn't matter. I'm not here because of ID1. I am a member of the ID1 Board of Trustees, but I'm here for myself. Nobody at ID1 told me or asked me to be here, so I can't help you. I got a lot of thoughts on what you said, but I'll hold them. I'm a firm believer that we need to control our own destiny in Los Olivos, and that Los Olivos board needs to be formed, built, get the heck to work and get the sewer built. But this meeting isn't how to build the sewer. I came here planning on helping how we're going to do it, but that's not what you're doing today. You're just talking about whether we have San Ynez do it or we do it. I think we should do it. Because sooner or later, when you have two groups with the same sphere of influence, sooner or later, there's going to be some friction and it's going to heat up into a full-blown fiasco, and we don't need that. San Ynez can take care of San Ynez, and Los Olivos, I think, can damn well take care of Los Olivos. It's been a long time coming, but we finally are realizing, it sounds like, that this is what we got to do. So again, I'm a firm believer that we need to keep our own control in our own bailiwick and form our own district in Los Olivos. And thank you, Jeff, but no thank you.
Our next speaker is Mark Herthel, to be followed by Reverend Randall Day.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. First, I'd like to congratulate Supervisor Lavanino and Mr. Richardson for sitting up there, and welcome our new supervisor from 3rd District, Joan Hartman. It's a new year, and we're very hopeful that 2017 is the year that we form a Los Olivos CSD and can solve this longstanding problem. As you've seen, Los Olivos residents are very passionate, and my hat's off to Winston and the team. You got a great showing today, and that's the kind of activity we have in Los Olivos. We've had a number of community meetings where 150 residents will show up, and they're there till the end. Staff has been at those meetings, county staff, we've had the regional board, and it's democracy in action, which, it's startup democracy, which is kind of a messy process. But we did get over 300 signatures. Not all of them are registered, 233 registered, so 43%. From talking to people, once they get the information, a lot of people say it's a slam dunk to do a local district. We've been a town for 135 years, and we've had no representation other than our 3rd District supervisor. So we've relied on our county every time we have a Los Olivos issue, or here or in Santa Barbara. And we think that we can solve the problem fastest as Los Olivos residents. All of the people here that spoke on both sides of it, I think we all are pretty darn close in the mutual goal of solving the problem. The formation, we initially, as you know, we worked on the downtown core because that's where we were being told that's the problem. We learned about LAMP. We were the 2nd county in the state to pass a LAMP. We learned about that. it immediately became the whole town. And that was, we stood up there and educated our town on that new regulation. Nobody knew about it before. We've come a long ways, commissioned 2 studies, been all over the state to learn, 6 community meetings, a lot of signatures, and we've got a lot of people that once they get the information, they're usually supportive. So happy to answer any questions. We do think, I think technically the San Ynez CSD is very capable of collecting wastewater. We've watched the process, though. We've been to their meetings, and I really think the best solution for figuring out the people side of the equation, there's the treatment, but there's the people side. All the people from Los Olivos here today. People being able to walk down the street, walk into the meeting room, and be able to have that dialogue that you just saw here in Los Olivos is critical, because most people aren't going to drive across the valley, 5 miles across the valley, for this process to play out. I went to school at Cal Poly during the Los Osos thing, and that's just stuck with me. We don't want to be the next Los Osos. We want to do this right. And quite frankly, a lot of the people that spoke here today in favor of the San Ynez application could probably be great board members for Los Olivos CSD. So it should be balanced, it should be local. And we're also interested in hearing what ID1 has to say. Maybe there's some sort of agreement there. I don't know, but thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Randall Day, to be followed by Jay Rickelson.
If I can add quickly, I forgot to say, I don't even live in Los Olivos. I live about a half mile out. He wouldn't let me live
Well, while we're voting on things, we can vote to let you live in town. So, anyhow, as all of you know, we have 2 issues that we've been trying to work on in Los Olivos at the same time, but they really are separate issues. One, of course, is the governance issue, and the other one is the wastewater treatment, water reclamation issue, and it has been, in a way, a little difficult because the 2 things get merged in lots of different discussions where someone's, supporting one treatment option or one water reclamation option over another. And of course, what we really have to do and what we're here to do with you is to find a way to make those decisions. And through all of our conversations, we've been able to identify that the quickest, most efficient, and most accountable way to get it done is to have our own local Los Olivos CSD, where there's one focus and one job that needs to be done by that organization versus being on a list with lots of other sort of pressing issues, pressing concerns that might be in front of San Ynez CSD or some other organization. We've heard, I think, repeatedly today that people want to get this done, and some of you who have been involved in this for the long period of time that a number of us have been involved in is being able to sort of celebrate that fact that in Los Olivos we've gotten from a point years ago where people were saying, well, I'm not sure we need to do this, to everyone saying not only do we need to do it, we need to do it quickly and get it done efficiently. So anybody who said, let's do it quickly, let's do it efficiently, we all agree on that. We feel that the way to do that is to have a Los Olivos CSD that's going to be really focused on that matter. I think you probably heard already in the comments that there is some confusion about the San Ynez application. I heard 2 speakers say, well, if there's a pre-existing system that we can just tap into, well, let's do that. Well, there is no pre-existing system that we can just tap into. The wastewater collection system in San Ynez is a wastewater collection system, but there is no treatment system operated by San Ynez CSD. There's no treatment plant there that we can just tap into. Whatever is provided for Los Olivos is going to have to be built from scratch by somebody. And we feel like we're going to be the ones who are going to be able to tailor what is needed for Los Olivos, perhaps working with other agencies or other organizations, but that's going to be our priority. We want to get it done quickly, efficiently, and economically for the people in Los Olivos. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jay Rickelson, to be followed by Dave Seymour.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the commissioners and to staff for all of the work that you've done on this very important decision. The commission has been presented with two competing and diametrically opposed visions for the best governance option for the community. On the one hand, you have a formal petition submitted to LAFCO with 42.5% of the registered voters' signatures supporting a Los Olivos CSD. On the other hand, you have individuals who are lobbying and maneuvering to see the San Ynez CSD annexation effort move forward before the community has the opportunity to vote on our CSD option. I call the second option the arranged marriage. It is not necessary for San Ynez CSD to annex Los Olivos in order for us to have a mutually beneficial working relationship. In fact, it's just the opposite. A decision by the San Ynez board to step back from annexation will only serve to improve relations between the two communities and facilitate good faith negotiations where these common interests dictate. The key point here is that having a Los Olivos CSD will give our community a seat at the table and will empower us to actively participate in these discussions as a full partner. The residents and property owners in Los Olivos will have to live with and pay for whatever solution is ultimately decided. It seems to me it's only fair and reasonable that they should have 100% control over that decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dave Seymour, to be followed by Bob Fields.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Seymour, and there really is a president of the SYCSD, and it's me. Some people have wondered, I am a still working person. I realized that what I had to say was a little longer than 3 minutes, so I took it and it's being passed out to you. So if I skip around on this because of the time, that's why. We're here and we're involved basically because of 100 and some odd signatures that came to us, and I've jumped down to September 2015. But I represent the board because of our decision on June 15th. On that decision of September 15th, we were presented with 140 signatures requesting CSD help. I call us CSD. Help Los Olivos with their sewer solution. Because of the 140 signatures, Los Olivos demonstrated enough support that the SYCSD Board of Directors voted to move forward and investigate on how to get sewer to Los Olivos in the best, most cost-effective way. To do that, the district filed the application with LAFCO to include Los Olivos in the district's sphere of influence on January 25th, 2016. Notice I say it twice there. At the June 2nd LAFCO meeting, the commission voted to delay our district sphere influence application and the December meeting. No prior dialogue from LAFCO was given that our application was not to be looked at. The bottom line is that the district sent a letter. It was included in your commission packet. The staff report today's meeting deems that the district application was incomplete. I thank Paul for answering some of the questions, and I have 4 questions. How and when did the application deemed incomplete? Why was it deemed incomplete? Why has the district not had any communication regarding the application? And the biggest one is, why has the district's application never been placed on as an agenda item? We're here because of some interested people. The last line, the CSD is only offering to solve the sewer solution and not worrying about who's governing it. I'd like to thank you all for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bob Field, to be followed by Harvey Sarloos.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Special hello to Mr. Lavanino and Ms. Hartman as a county mouse. I'd intended to come here just to kind of balance a record from last month, the document that was presented to you, but it now turns out to be germane. There was a letter submitted that it was actually advocating the shared wastewater facility that was being proposed by SYCSD, and it picked a sentence out of a 260-page community plan as sort of support for the idea that the community plan might be okay with that or might even support it. Well, like most cherry-picked sentences, it misses the mark by quite a bit. Actually, what the sentence was quoted says the county shall work cooperatively with Santa Ynez CSD and the Regional Water Board to pursue feasibility, fiscal, and environmental studies to evaluate the possibility of alternatives. So that was what was presented to you as evidence of support for a shared wastewater system. It just said work together. The big problem is the plan is really all that's active in the plan is the bold type policy. This was just a sentence in an action item, an advisory paragraph. Here's what the policy says. Annexation of interrural and rural areas, i.e. Los Olivos, to a sanitary district, CSD, or extensions of sewer lines into interrural and rural areas, which would be required if there were any shared wastewater thing, shall not be permitted. Shall is not a suggestion. Shall not be permitted unless required to prevent adverse impacts into an environmentally sensitive habitat, not the case here, or to protect public health, not the case here. This policy came out of Santa Ynez Valley Community Plan discussions 10 years ago. It was actively discussed. The plan can be changed, although extension of sewer lines is going to require a change to the county's comprehensive plan, which is going to be hard to difficult. It was very clear that the goal of the community, as expressed in the community plan, was that Los Olivos should come up with its own solution and run its own solution. That CSD should be consulted, and we should not be running sewer lines across miles of our rural ag-zoned lands. With some effort, you might change that. So now we're down to who should run the thing. And we've got dueling petitions here. And I suggest that you let Los Olivos go to the election. The SYCSD fans can turn this into a referendum. And instead of waving petitions at you, we can show you what the outcome of a vote is. And if I were voting, I'd vote for Los Olivos. Thanks.
I'd like to say that Santa Ynez didn't
Please.
propose that. I proposed it.
Please have a seat. We have people that want to speak. Who's next?
Our next speaker is Harvey Sarloos, to be followed by Karen Jones.
Good afternoon, Board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Harvey Sarlos, and I've been a part of the solution, and I'm in favor of the CSD being in Los Olivos. I've been working on the problem along with the committee for not just a couple of months, but for maybe a year or two, or possibly even longer. We have been working with the county every step of the way in the last couple of years. We've added to our committee about a year ago to get a bigger flavor of the community. We were at about 12 in our committee. During that time, all solutions have been looked at and reviewed. The committee's evaluation, which is a cross-section of Los Olivos. They live in the sewer district, or in the service area, was that they form a CSD, and as Mark alluded to, there's been 150 people coming out on a Monday night to talk about wastewater. There's better things for everybody in Los Olivos to do, but still the community shows up to be educated. In the times that we've started to run the community and education program, I am not quite sure, and I've voiced this in the community, but Santa Ynez awoke and for some reason wanted our wastewater. to my understanding, I have no understanding why another community 10 miles away would want to receive my wastewater in Los Olivos. Why don't they leave it up to us to dispose of our own issues and our own problems? That's why we are moving forward with the CSD. There must be something more underlying in why they want to have wastewater from my town. So we would rather just take care of our own business, form our CSD, have a seat at the table, let the people vote, and bring this to a conclusion the way it should be so we don't have a valley fight. So I'm for a CSD in Los Olivos. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Karen Jones, to be followed by Hillary Hauser.
Thank you very much for letting me speak. Thank you, Joan. I'm glad she's an alternate. It's just wonderful seeing government at a local level like this and me being able to weigh in. Said my name is Karen Jones. I'm the most recently elected member of the SYCSD, and as I've stated at previous meetings, as a stakeholder in the SYCSD, I don't want their wastewater. I want everybody to be able to have as much control over their life as possible. And I think the people that are speaking up pro-annexation or change in sphere of influence are absolutely entitled to their opinion, and I think all the things they had to say will be great on campaign literature if this goes to a vote. And I think somebody, maybe Mr. Field, made the point that some of the people who came here to speak out against going with the CSD in Santa Ynez could likely be elected to their hometown governing board. So I think it's just such a simple solution to me. Now that Los Olivos has met the requirements to get on the ballot, let them have the vote. Let them make their mind up about what happens with the governance of Los Olivos. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Hillary Hauser, to be followed by Jenna Ayos.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Hillary Hauser from Heal the Ocean. And as you know, Heal the Ocean put out a legal PRA to LAFCO to ask for all the documents and communications that have been going on. It is our distinct feeling that we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We feel that this public transparency is at issue here, that a lot of things need to be vetted through this commission so that we can all discuss it. We've heard today about how we're going to forge ahead with a protest vote, and part of that application of LOCSD are two studies that are supposed to advise the citizens how much, what is it. It's part of the package. I don't know if there hasn't been a public hearing on those documents. They're inadequate. They don't tell the citizens how much it's going to cost, what they're going to use. By the way, there is no discussion about pipes running around Santa Ynez. It's a pocket plant, a wastewater recycling plant, and I would remind previous speakers that that is in the Santa Ynez general plan for Los Olivos, to have a wastewater recycling plan. That's the Santa Ynez Community Plan of 2009. Skipping to, I would really like to hear this commission go through some of its policies to see how it's handling this issue. 180 days after application is submitted, we're supposed to know where we are. The general plan, does it fit the general plan? Well, we've just described the Santa Ynez general plan, which advises this. The duplication of authority is an issue. That's in your policy to avoid that. It's where possible a single larger agency. That's in your plan. I would love to see a discussion with LAFCO how this CSD proposal answers this. After you get a CSD, you still don't have a wastewater plan. We are under the lamp. Despite what was said before, no public health issue, there is. That's why the LAMP has been formed. That's why this area is under regulation. It has been called a problem area since 1974. And 30 years later, we're going around in circles. I say, let them have their CSD, but you still got to handle the wastewater with somebody that knows how to handle wastewater. We have, SYCSD have made the proposal to the LOCSD people, make your CSD, go ahead. They might get done 5 years from now. But meanwhile, they have an expert who's running their wastewater program, and then they can detach, and they'll give them the keys to it. I don't understand.
Okay, thank you. Your time's
The
up.
problem.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Jenna Eos, to be followed by Eric Tembuel.
Hi, my name is Jenna Akos, and I'm here representing the San Ynez River Water Conservation District, Improvement District Number 1, and Chris Dahlstrom, the general manager, apologizes for not being here in person. He had previous commitments that he had to undertake. So I am here speaking on behalf of Chris Dahlstrom as well as the district. And we just have a couple of points that I'd like to cover. First, the district wants to acknowledge and commend the amount of work and planning that has gone into this matter by the various stakeholders in the San Ynez Valley. However, the district also believes that LAFCO's consideration of both of the current proposals on the table is premature. The district timely sent in a letter to LAFCO on April 4th, which was prior to, I believe it was the June 6th meeting, regarding this matter and stating that it did have the authority to provide sewage services to the Los Olivos area, that the Los Olivos area was within its boundaries, and also expressing its interest in participating in the process and also potentially being a part of the solution to this problem. However, it has still not been included in a majority of the discussions or the process to come up with a solution. The district still welcomes the opportunity to sit down with all of the stakeholders to try to figure out how the district could help them achieve their goals in the most efficient and cost-effective manner. And that's where I'd really like to just pause and state that that really is that's the district's intent, and that's sort of what is driving all of our public comments today on their behalf, that they're interested in determining whether or not they could help the Los Olivos community find a solution for the sewage problem that is efficient. The district does have technical capacity to deal with some of these issues, and also maybe the district may be able to be the most cost-efficient matter. But that has not been explored up to this point, and that's what we are trying to come to the table to be part of this discussion. On a related point, the district also respectfully requests the commission to not accept the current draft of the report in today's agenda packet as final, because there are numerous inconsistencies, specifically relating to ID1 and ID1's authority. ID1, the district was not provided with a draft of this report prior to it coming out in the agenda packet, and it requests the opportunity to submit comments trying to correct some of the inconsistencies that were included in the report before the commission finalizes the report. The district would also like to raise its concerns with both of the current proposals that are on the table, and some of these concerns have already been raised by other members of the public, so I'll try to be as brief as possible.
Your time's up. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I heard you say the district a whole bunch of times, but I missed which district you're representing.
The district is the San Ynez River Water Conservation District.
Is that ID1 or the
ID1.
parent district?
ID1, not the parent district.
So
It's
when
the
you say the
improvement
district, you meant ID1.
I meant
What-
ID1.
Thank you.
I apologize for that.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Eric Tembuel, to be followed by Alex Bennett.
So, unlike Harlan, Jen and I were asked to be here today because Chris couldn't be here. So, I'll try to keep it brief and maybe cover what the points that Jenna didn't get to. But basically, I want to say that this is a difficult, divisive issue, and recognize that the community, for the years that I've been involved, which is I think goes back 8 years back to the 2010 Los Olivos Wastewater Management Plan. The community's been very involved, and I want to just recognize and acknowledge their efforts. You know, the room full of people here says that they're very involved, and I think they've got a great group in their steering committee. They had a good group prior to that we met with, the business owners. I know there's some members of the public that don't see eye to eye, but I think there is an open forum for them to be involved in this. So that's my personal perspective. Just to answer some of the questions that came up, I know there was a lot about ID1 to begin with because there's some legal questions. We believe we have that authority. We're not here to come in and say we want to do this. We came, and the letter that we wrote basically is offering to be a part of the solution, as Jenna said. We don't want to get in the way of this, and we actually support the efforts of the county and the Los Olivos group in fixing this problem, which is really our main concern, is the water quality of the groundwater. I don't know if I got to it. I'm a hydrogeologist. I'm the water resources manager for the district. My name's Eric Tambini, and I've been working been involved in this issue since it came up back in 2010. As a water purveyor for this area, we feel that we're the stewards of the groundwater basin, and we have an obligation to monitor the activities and assure the protection of the water quality. I won't go into all the detail. I'm running out of time anyway. We feel that we should be considered. This document that came out by Berkson was well done. It went through the options fairly thoroughly for the CSD and the Los Olivos CSD. We're just saying we are one of the options. We may be the better financial option, but we should be considered equally and discussed. And once you know, if it's determined that we're not, that's fine. If it's determined that we could provide a better financial solution and better governance based on all the factors involved, well, then we ask the question: do we want to do it? I don't think we've gone through that what if with our board because we haven't actually formally been asked. So that's why we're here. We're not coming in trying to play the heavy. So I think that's all I had to say. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Chair, I have a question.
I have one question.
Okay, Mr. Guyer, then Mr. Morehouse. Would you come back up to the podium, please?
Right. Do you recognize that ID1 is discussing a latent power?
Yes.
Okay, and to get that latent power active, you come back to LAFCO to initiate it, and that would require an application. So a seat at the table would start with an application.
Yeah, well, like I said, we haven't formally been asked by anyone to take that role, so it's kind of the cart before the horse, I think. For us to apply would indicate we've already had the discussion and had the desire to be that entity. We wouldn't do that until we were maybe determined to be the best solution, which is really what we're looking for, is the best solution for the Los Olivos community. Sure, we're all...
In the mic, please. We can't hear you. Okay. Mr. Morehouse.
I thought I heard you say at the last part of your comments that you hadn't discussed this with the board, your board. Can you clarify that? I mean, are you here as representing the board, or how are your discussion here?
The view of our general manager is what I'm providing. Whether what I'm saying is the formal question to the board has not been posed to the board, and until we were requested to be that entity or to be in that role, that wouldn't go to the board. It wouldn't be a discussion with the board. So these are based on our review of the documents, and we're just presenting.
So this is not your board's position?
This is a staff member speaking on behalf of the general manager. Is that correct?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Alex Bennett, to be followed by Jay Freeman.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Alex Bennett. I'm with Heal the Ocean. I'd like to start out by echoing Mr. Herthel's earlier comment. We have very similar goals. I mean, the goal here is effective wastewater management. It's groundwater health. This is absolutely a public health issue. This is an environmental issue, and it needs to be addressed in a timely manner as quickly as possible. On that note, we would like to see the Los Olivos CSD committee hold themselves to accurate timelines. We would like to see deadlines for aspects of their project and their CSD formation process. And we would like to see LAFCO carefully read the documents that they've put forward. Having read through them, we found a number of vagaries that we found gave inaccurate cost estimates for some of the proposed governance options and alternatives. And so we feel that in order for LAFCO and for the voting base of Los Olivos to make an accurate and informed decision, there are aspects of these documents that need to be updated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jay Freeman, to be followed by Megan Dittenhofer.
Hello, my name is Jay Freeman. So most of you on the board know me as somebody who's been involved in the Isla Vista Community Services District. Anyone in the audience who might recognize me, and actually know more people than I would have thought, would know me from having run in the primary election in 2016 for 3rd District County Supervisor. Now, it is not my place today, and it's not what I'm going to be doing today, to try to provide an opinion on who should be doing anything in this increasingly interesting competition, almost it seems, for over Los Olivos. I live 45 minutes away. But what I am here to do is to underscore the comment that was made earlier today by one of the residents of the area about Ballard, that nobody pays attention to Ballard. So unlike Los Olivos, whom you get to hear a lot from, Ballard no longer has a homeowners association. Ballard does not have a commercial area. They have the inn. They have currently an empty rental area. They have a miniature donkey petting zoo. They do not have people who will step up in order to come here in order to demand representation, to provide, applications, in order to try to become part of various things that are going on. However, I can tell you that they do care. They were listed as a special problems area. Now, I also have talked to some people who are here, who claim that Ballard isn't a problem, despite having been listed as a special problem area. But when I was going around and talking to people in Ballard about their septic tanks, many, if not most of them, are aging. Some of them are failing. Some of the people who live in Ballard had recently had close calls with their septic tanks. Another issue is that there are now new homeowners who are there who don't really understand as much about septic tanks as the people who had actually been there a long time ago and had built these buildings and set up all of these things. They don't understand the kind of maintenance requirements that these have, and that is causing further issues. They would like to see sewage come in order to make it easier in order to manage these problems. Some of the people there don't realize that they live outside of the city of Solvang because they do not have an understanding of the way that representation in the area works, and so they think that somebody else is going to be working on solving these problems. They're so disused to people caring about them that when I was walking around knocking on doors, I had the police called on me because I was this stranger going around knocking on doors. However, the result of this is that we got 25% of the people in Ballard, 25% of the households in Ballard to sign a petition requesting that LAFCO pay attention to Ballard and include them in their thoughts of the solutions for all of these areas. And I would like to, again, I had brought that petition up in July, and I realize it's now a little bit outdated. I'm willing to go back and do it again if required. I sent a copy of it last night to Paul Hood, so you have a copy of all of that information, but I'm just here again to stress, please, please pay attention to Ballard. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Our next speaker is Megan Dittenhofer, to be followed by Richard Nairhood.
Hi, my name's Megan Dittenhofer, and I'm a resident of Los Olivos and also a business owner in Los Olivos, Figueroa Mountain Brewing Company. And I'm here today just to state that I would like to see the question of whether Los Olivos forms its own community services district go to vote. And I actually was part of initially signing the petition for Santa Ynez Water District to take over Los Olivos area because I was told at that time it was going to go to a vote, that the petition was not just something to actually make that happen immediately. And my personal opinion is that Los Olivos would be better served forming its own community services district because it is a distinct community from Santa Ynez, and there are other things, the sewer included, but maybe other things that I believe are under what a community services district does outside of a sewage treatment system, wastewater treatment system, that would possibly be different in Santa Ynez than it would in Los Olivos, and we would want to be able to make our own decisions about how those things would happen that would suit us best. And even if the vote doesn't result in that opinion happening, I still think it's fair for the residents of Los Olivos to be able to make that decision, and then we know what the majority wants. Thanks.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Richard Nearhood, to be followed by Erica Herthel.
Hello, thank you. I'm in favor, as my wife is, for the formation of a Los Olivos Community Service District. I couldn't help but hearing that some of the people that wanted to become for Los Olivos to become under the auspices of the Santa Ynez District, that costs were mentioned a number of times. I think that cost, in quotes, is probably arbitrary, because I don't think anyone here can tell us if it would be more expensive for Los Olivos and a CSD would be more or less money than falling under the auspices of a Santa Ynez CSD. I don't think we've gotten that far. So it reminded me of something my grandfather used to always say: if cost does become a factor, the elation of getting a good deal can soon turn to disappointment.
Hi there. My name is Erica Herthel, and I'm a local resident of Los Olivos, a resident and a lover of our town. And I just wanted to say that I've observed the dedication, the hard work, and the tirelessness of these people in Los Olivos that have put so much time and effort, research, taken time away from their families and friends to try to make the best decisions for all of us. I'm grateful for that. A lot of us are, indebted to them and their services that they've provided. And because of that, I know that I can trust what they're looking into. I know that they are helping to educate all of us in these meetings, community meetings. We're grateful to learn the facts and be able to make decisions. And that's why I support the Los Olivos CSD. I think it's so important for a beautiful small town that I raised my children in to continue to be the way it is. I think that it's really important for everybody there that loves and wants to see our town survive and thrive, have a vote and have a say. And I really, really believe in this, and I hope that you really listen to everybody and what they're saying. And I think we all want the same thing. We want a Los Olivos CSD. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chip Woolbrandt, to be followed by Mike Paderak, who is our final speaker.
Hello again on this issue. Chip Woolbrandt. I'm on the board of the Los Olivos Business Organization. Back again. Clearly this is a Groundhog Day thing, and I hope you guys move it forward. My job on the Los Olivos Business Organization was to head up the subcommittee that is in charge of the chemical toilets, the making sure that the one street light keeps lit, picking up the trash in town, and replacing the flag every year. And that's the kind of community that Los Olivos is. I'd love to not have the chemical toilets as part of that responsibility. And so I urge you greatly, please move the proposal for a Los Olivos Community Services District forward. I think it is what is needed in that town. It will do a number of wonderful things, including probably mean that you don't have to have these people from out of the town coming here to tell you what Los Olivos should do for itself. It will take care of itself if you give it its chance. I also want to say, I'm from Ballard. I actually live in Ballard, although we have an office in Los Olivos and I do work there. My friends in Ballard are not as stupid as they have been depicted here today. They actually do know that they have septic tanks. They know a lot of things. And as a resident of Ballard, I'm certainly not ready to be annexed to the Santa Ynez district. I do get my water from ID1. I'm a bit concerned about paying for that water to have people from ID1 come here. I appreciate that they're interested in what's the best solution. I think the best solution is let Los Olivos vote on whether it should have a community services district. Thank you.
Our next and final speaker is Mike Paderak.
Good afternoon, Chair Aceves and Commissioners. My name is Mike Paterick. I'm a single-family dwelling property owner in the septic system special problems area of Los Olivos. I've spoken to you before in this topic. I'm here to ask your support with moving forward on the SYCSD's application to include Los Olivos in its sphere of influence. What I'm hearing today is there's been a determination. These are not competing issues procedurally. That would have been nice to have known that back in June when we voted to delay moving forward with the SOI because of what the steering committee was trying to do. I think that, in hindsight, was another delay added onto this process. At your June 2nd meeting, you had before you what was deemed a complete application from the SYCSD. In reviewing the video of that meeting, seeing the time marker 1 hour, 50 minutes, 35 seconds, not only did Chair Aceves express his concern that we don't want to wait too long if we vote for a delay, but Commissioners Wolf and Morehouse acknowledged they had a complete application in front of them. You already had a complete application. As a side note, it's very curious that back in September, your executive director asked the SYCSD for an updated MSR after the application had already been deemed complete. Curious, procedurally. At the same June 2nd meeting, the Commission voted 4-3 to delay consideration of the SYCSD application for up to 6 months. Okay? The stated delay time frame was until December 2016 meeting. We are now 2 months past that. Chair Aceves and Commissioners, isn't this too long? From today's information item number 1 on this matter, LAFCO Executive Director states, if approved by the Commission in the absence of majority protest and assuming the proposal goes to an election, the LOCSD formation process could take up to 6 months to complete. Isn't that too long? From the steering committee's petition for the formation of Los Olivos CSD, page 4, the districts, the new proposed LOCSD's first year of operations will consist of planning and development activities to include determining appropriate systems, compliance measures, and the means of financing this infrastructure and the eventual operations and maintenance cost. This appears to have the potential for delays well over 18 months from the date a LOCSD proposal gets your approval to move forward for a vote. This definitely is too long. And in this time frame, we could have had the SYCSD already addressing these action items. The Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board, in its July letter, asked Mr. Hood, encouraged action to mitigate impacts to groundwater from on-site wastewater collection in Los Olivos.
Okay, your time's up. Sorry.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Was that our last speaker? Okay, Mr. Hood, any response?
I don't have any specific responses. I think the commission has heard both sides of the issue. And as I mentioned in my opening comments, that we have a couple of options. One is a proposal to form a new district, which will be brought back to your commission in the next couple of months. And a district, San Ynez, that filed a sphere of influence request annexation some time ago that is, according to the letter from the general manager, considering some options, one of which is allowing the formation to proceed, but bearing in mind that they would step in if it does not pass at the ballot box or is not approved by LAFCO or is denied at the protest hearing. So those are my only closing comments, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Geyer.
The last speaker made a reference to a letter from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. Has that been distributed to the commissioners? Yes. Can you send me another copy? I don't recall seeing it. Thank you. And can we take a break before the closed session?
Well, we're almost there. Okay, any commissioners have any final questions for staff? Mrs. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hood, one of the speakers provided us with this letter, and he was speaking to it. And I'm concerned about one of the paragraphs. It says that Paul Hood contacted Rick Battles, the district's legal counsel, and requested the district write a letter stating that the district will take the position that if LAFCO determines LOCSD petition should be given priority and processed first, the Santa Ynez CSD will not challenge that determination if the processing of the LOCSD petition begins promptly and proceeds with reasonable diligence. And I suspect that this, that they are referring to the letter that we got from Santa Ynez CSD dated January 25th.
Right.
So is that something that you talked to them about, that they should hold off moving forward until this other process was completed? Because I was under the impression that we were moving on a parallel process, but I was willing to hold back because I saw this letter from Santa Ynez CSD where they, you know, said that they would wait. But if you talk to them about that, that is a concern of mine.
We, legal counsel and I both talked to Rick Battles, the counsel for the Santa Ynez CSD, and we talked about a variety of options. That was not one of them, or was not one that we recommended. They're outlined in the letter that was dated January 25th, and we didn't have a hand in drafting this letter. Obviously, it came from the district and from the legal counsel and general manager signed it, so there are some options that are outlined in here. We did not say that you need to write a letter to take a back seat to the application form of district. This is the letter that they wrote. I don't know if Bill has any comments, but we did not tell them what to put in the letter. We discussed various options.
Okay, so, all right, well, thank you for that. So now I just need a little clarity on our process going forward. So I think you said, as far as Los Olivos, their petition, we have to set a hearing. Is that the next step?
The next step is that it would go to a hearing. We need to give 21 days notice and, you know, write the staff report. So there's not enough time to bring it back in March because it takes almost a week to get something in the newspaper to give legal notice and 21 days.
So is that the April meeting you were talking about?
It would be the April meeting. I was talking about the April meeting.
So that would be a formal hearing?
That's correct.
And at that hearing, is that when we have an opportunity to review the reports that we got?
Yes, they're contained in the staff report today.
Okay, but that's the opportunity that we can go through that and hear the public and make our comments on those
Right.
reports.
And we'll have the folks that worked on the reports, Richard Berkson and I think Larry Fay, in the ICOM report, go over those options. One talks about the technicalities of providing a treatment plant and collection plant and gives a $21 million estimate of that. And the other is the governmental options alternatives. And, you know, by the way, ID1 is covered on page 29 of the Berkson report.
Mhm.
And the other options are the Santa Ynez CSD and county service area. So there's basically options that are presented. And, you know, they support all of those. And they don't make a recommendation in the Berkson report, but they do a pretty good job of describing what the cost would be. In terms of the new CSD, it would be the most expensive, but not by a great deal. And the costs in the ICOM report would be very much the same regardless of which agency constructed the collection system and the treatment plant.
And
So
is
we'll have
it
people
at
go
that
over
meeting then that we decide, that we make a decision about moving forward, or what is our role at that April meeting?
At the April meeting, if I bring back the formation of the Los Olivos CSD, you will make a decision at that meeting.
Okay.
And you
Now-
could approve, deny, or amend the application.
Okay. Now going back to the Santa Ynez issue, you said that you would complete the review and have information for us also at that April meeting.
It really depends on what the board at the Santa Ynez CSD does on
Okay,
the 15th.
let's assume
Yeah,
that-
so we could have that too. You know, my preference would be, obviously, not to have two reports that compete on the same application, the same hearing date. But if that's your direction, I would certainly go ahead and do that for you.
So when you just, you know, and I think the last speaker brought up compete, And I thought early on in your discussion, I maybe misheard what you said, but I thought you said these are not competing proposals, and I didn't understand that, but they are
Okay.
competing.
Legally, they are not competing. One is a proposal. That's the application. The change of organization or reorganization is a proposal. And I don't want to get too technical, but in the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act, proposal is defined as a change of organization or reorganization. It's not defined as a sphere of influence. So they're not, if you look at the conflicting applications, they're not competing. I guess that's the easiest way to describe it. Bill, you may want to chime in here.
Well, there's some technicalities in the statute, but certainly they are inconsistent with each other. The sphere of influence would propose to eventually expand the boundaries of San Ynez CSD to provide sewer service to Los Olivos. And then the creation of a CSD in the same area would also be to provide sewer services in Los Olivos. Those are inconsistent proposals. And if you get these both in front of you on April 13th, I think whatever you do, you don't want to approve both of them. You want to decide which way you're going, and then we'll move forward with the winning proposal.
Thank you. And, Mr. Hood, let's just assume that San Ynez CSD decides that they want to move forward. It seems, though, that they started this process first, and yet now they're kind of taking a back seat to the other option. I don't know which proposal is better, which one is less expensive, which one benefits the residents, which one will get done faster. But how can we evaluate this if we know that there's another option out there?
It's within your prerogative to direct me to bring both of those back at the same time, if that's what the commission wants to do. And I'm happy to write the staff report.
I guess my feeling is that we should have you complete the MSR review ASAP. That's something that we've been waiting for, and that's always been my expectation. And I feel frustration, as some people in the audience, that that this has been going on for so long, and that proposal has been set aside. And I don't know how other folks feel, but I definitely think that we should direct you to move forward. I mean, you had said that you were going to do that and have it for us by April. So I would think that's what should happen.
Mr. Lavanino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I would agree that I would like to see both come back at the same time. That's the easiest way to look at this and try to make a decision. I had a question about the timeline, because that's what I'm most concerned about right now is, so it says in here the formation process could take up to 6 months. Is that from after the protest hearing, or is that from now?
It's from the time that the commission has a hearing.
Okay. So we're talking
because-
6 months from April.
Yeah, because there's timelines for protest hearing, there's notifications to registered voters and a hearing, and there's times that, I'm not going to stretch it out, obviously, but there are
Right.
timelines from past protest hearings. And then elections are not able to be called, there's like 66 days, or, there's impartial analysis.
So a lot of this is statutory.
A lot of it's, well, it is all statutory.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, in that 6 months, I just wanted to make sure
Right.
we're going to be putting the pedal to the metal and getting to where we need to be as quick as we can. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Well, I think Mr. Morehouse and then Mr. Stark.
Yeah.
Put your light on when you want to speak.
Yes, I'd like to see them both come back. I guess the issue is which one's number one on the agenda and which one's number two. So, well, I mean, one will probably help us decide the second. So, which, perhaps we should have the CSD issue on first and then San Ynez second. That's just throwing that out there. And also the next question would be, you said you don't have time to get this on. Is that 21 days, is that business days, or is that 21 calendar days?
Calendar days.
So if we had something published by the 7th, that meets the guideline. So why can't we have?
Today's the 2nd, so.
I said the 7th. So why can't we have something published by the 7th and have this on next month?
It's hard to get things in the newspaper that fast. I've tried in the past, and
Okay.
Mr. Stark, are you ready?
I advertise in the paper and I get it in right away.
Mr. Stark.
Yeah, I actually had a related corollary question to what Commissioner Wolf said. How will the CEQA analysis be handled? I mean, could we expect to see whatever we're supposed to do at the same meeting? I did notice that ID1 in their footnote to their letters got a CEQA claim in there that alleges that we might have to do substantial analysis, and I'd like to know whether we do or don't up front rather than have it bagged on us, if you know what I mean.
Mr. Richardson.
Regarding the sequence of the April meeting, it was I understood Mr. Battles at the December meeting to indicate that they'd be willing to stand back until the decision at Los Olivos was made. And if that was the case, then under those circumstances, I would suggest that we go with the Los Olivos CSD decision before we go to the San Ynez Valley, or San Ynez CSD.
Mr. Chair, just one comment on that. If the San Ynez CSD wants their petition heard, then we have an obligation to hear it. So it's really, we cannot overrule their determination that they want that to go forward. They have a right to have a hearing. So that's an option only if they agree to defer.
I think that they agreed to that initially, that they would stand back, and then we could discuss.
Well,
I'm talking about the priority of the meeting.
Well, we had a conversation with them just because of the comments they made at the last hearing. I was a little confused about their intent, but then Mr. Battles clarified, no, they want to move forward, but they would consider, if there's a, I don't know, they're considering whether or not to defer, but I'm not sure that's going to happen.
So they've changed their mind then about
I think we
that.
just I misconstrued their comments at the last hearing when Mr. Battles talked about deferral.
I heard him right there. I was sitting right next to him, heard him, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Guyer.
I just want to say that I'm in favor of putting both on one agenda, too.
All right. I want to speak for a moment. I'm concerned about staff time, and I'm concerned about agenda management. And so my question to Mr. Dillon is, if we handle the CSD, the creation of the CSD, and that receives a favorable vote, then why hold the second one?
If you have an active application on your agenda, then the appropriate way to dispose of that is to take action and deny it, and vice versa. If you decide to go with the sphere of influence approval, then you would want to take action to deny the CSD creation proposal, and that would bring an end to that one, subject to reconsideration and other proceedings.
And if that is the case, then it would be a shorter report if it's for denial based on the other one being approved.
I know Mr. Hood's going to make a recommendation. I think that he'll probably compare and contrast the two options, make a recommendation, and then you'll debate it. In the past, we'll kick this around some more, Mr. Morehouse. We have at times agendized two items separately but called them at the same time so that one doesn't have priority in consideration over the other. Then it really comes down to what motion is made for which proposal for approval first, and then how does that vote play out?
So
when I say we, I mean in other agencies have advised.
So we'd have two resolutions.
We'd be ready. Well, we might ask for conceptual approval because we're not sure how much detail we'll need to tie down the one you end up approving. So we might, at that hearing, request conceptual approval or final approval if we're ready. And then, yeah, we'd have a resolution, or we'd suggest a 30-day continuance and come back with a final resolution, something to that order.
Then my final question for Mr. Hood is that, can you have both ready for the April meeting?
I wasn't planning on taking any vacations in the next month or so. Yes, I think so. It shouldn't be a problem.
All right. Then we'll revisit this in April. I want to thank everybody that showed up today. It's not easy chairing a meeting when you have so many people that want to speak, but you want to be very respectful to let everybody speak. So I thank those that came up and used their 1 minute, and I thank those that used their 3 minutes, and those that I cut off, I hopefully did it politely, but I will next time, so keep it down to 3 minutes. Thank you very much for participating. We will see you in April, so we will receive and file this item, and please report us into closed session.
Can I make a statement?
No, we're done. We're done.
Chair Seves and members of the commission, today on closed session, we are agendized for a public employee performance evaluation, Government Code Section 54957B1, title Executive Officer.
Thank you. We'll adjourn to closed session. Okay, I'm going to call the LAFCO Commission back in session. Mr. Dillon, report out of closed session, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On closed session item number 1, the commission took no action in closed session that requires a public report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner announcements or requests for future agenda items. Mr. Morehouse.
Yes, I have one. The Special District Association is going to be in need of, the selection committee is going to be in need of holding a meeting in order to select a representative for the RDA. For the RDA consolidation with representatives from the county, one of the representatives will be from the special districts. And so it calls for LAFCO to call the meeting. Okay. So it would be convenient if we could do it at their March meeting, which means you add a few things to your agenda. But it's the same process of pulling the selection committee for this selection for the LAFCO representatives, the same process. I have the paperwork. I think that's March. The meeting would be March 23rd, but then you have all the noticing that needs to take place before then.
And the LAFCO's in charge of doing that?
LAFCO's in charge of calling the selection committee.
Can we get a reference for that when you have a chance?
Yes, yeah, it's on CSDA's site. It's on a white paper that just
Okay,
came
I'll
out.
have you work with Mr. Hood and see what we need to do with that.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, executive officer's comments.
Wait, I have a comment.
Mr. Guyer?
This is announcements?
Yes.
Okay. I attended the UCLA, I think it was the 31st Planning and Land Use Law. It was really good. It goes really fast. Got a nice thick book, and they will send everybody the PowerPoint. I could forward it to Paul, and he could send it to anybody that wants. But there was, I believe, 5 LAFCO law changes.
That was my first time going. I tell you, it was very impressive. To our new members, welcome. Please spend time with Mr. Hood on getting up to speed with what LAFCO is all about, and he'll let you know about future conferences that are available to get your learning curve up. And to Mr. Lavanito and Mr. Richardson, thank you for joining us up here. And with that, we will be adjourning to March 2nd, where the meeting will be in Santa Barbara. Yes. So we are adjourned. Thank you.